What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel. So with Mondays including our Marvel What If story, what I want to do here is I want to cover the story of the Incredible Hulk killing all the superheroes and becoming a Herald of Galactus. This is kind of like the worst case scenario for Earth, and it's actually a lot more complicated than it seems in terms of all the stuff that happens, meaning it's not like a linear series of events. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on in the story. It's one of the reasons why I love it so much. But this story comes directly out of the World War Hulk storyline. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do, but for those of you guys who don't know, when it came to the World War Hulk story, this was basically just a way to remove the Incredible Hulk from the Marvel landscape prior to Civil War and then bring him back. And so what Marvel did is they basically had a group called the Illuminati, Charles Xavier, Black Bolt of the Inhumans, Name of the Submariner, Doctor Strange. They had the group come to the decision that the Incredible Hulk was just too unpredictable and violent to remain on Earth, and it ended up sending him into space. The problem was he ended up traveling through a wormhole, more or less, ended up on the wrong side of the galaxy and landed on a place called Sakaar, which led into the Planet Hulk event, whereby he basically rallied together a whole bunch of revolutionary forces and was able to topple the existing king. The issue with this was that while those people who looked to the Incredible Hulk as the savior were in the midst of building a monument, the ship that he was sent on by the Illuminati was detonated accidentally and set off a thermonuclear blast. And in doing so, it basically killed the Incredible Hulk's new wife, their unborn child, or I guess their newborn child, and basically everybody that the Hulk knew on the new kingdom that he had settled for himself. And so because of this, he returned back to Earth with what he called his Warbound, his pact of people that he had come to view as allies during his time as a gladiator during the Planet Hulk storyline, and he basically cut a swath through the superhero community. Now, what this does is this shows us an alternate situation because this brings in the events of Secret Invasion. Now, Secret Invasion was another half of the Marvel storyline. That was a series of events whereby Marvel established that the Skrulls, who had the ability to shapeshift, had previously had their planet destroyed by Galactus, and they had looked to Earth as a new home for themselves in a manifest destiny kind of situation. And the result was that they had begun the process of replacing the various occupants, human and superhero alike on Earth, with Skrull replicants. The issue with this was that during this part of the story of World War Hulk, the Skrull Queen is basically Spider-Woman Jessica Drew. And so because of this, she's still on Earth, and the Skrulls are effectively just waiting out in space for her to give the signal for them to all show up and invade the planet Earth and basically kill off all the superheroes. But what happens here is that unlike the original World War Hulk event, with Reed Richards creating these satellites that would basically attack the Incredible Hulk and destroy him, because of the fact that the battle's going so badly, because Bruce Banner is literally just tearing all the superheroes apart piece by piece, it's really like a last-ditch effort. It's really just wipe everything out. Just, it's a scorched earth kind of policy. And so what happens is that at the request of Reed Richards, Tony Stark launches the satellites and annihilates everybody. And so the most powerful superheroes who are going against Bruce Banner are all annihilated in this destruction or in this conflict. And so what we do is we actually jump forward by a few months in the sense that the bishop, with the queen having been killed among all these heroes, her second in command, her bishop, who's kind of like this religious leader in the Skrull Empire, takes control of the Skrull fleet and begins invading the planet Earth. And so what we do is we switch to what seems to be a few months, and we end up joining with a recreated version of the Vision. And the Vision shows up and discovers that Bruce Banner is basically digging graves for everyone who died in New York, whether they were human, whether they were superhero. He's in the middle of building all this. Now, of course, Bruce Banner can't really survive the high level of radiation here, which is one of the other reasons why those survivors who weren't obliterated by the blast were almost immediately killed off by the radiation because it was so potent. But he finds that Bruce Banner's here, and he basically begins talking with him, right? He's like, hey, look, man, we need you. Like, we basically need you here. Now, Bruce Banner doesn't want to have anything to do with this. He says, yes, I could survive in my Hulk form, but I'm basically dying. And this is Bruce Banner just kind of coming to terms with the destruction that he's experienced over the course of his life, all the destruction that he's basically created. And so it's him paying penance. So it's very similar to the Incredible Hulk Last Man on Earth storyline that we had previously covered. But what the Vision says is, look, man, like, this was not the end. Like, these superheroes, this wasn't the end. While you've been here in isolation in New York, the Skrulls invaded Earth, and they almost immediately killed off the X-Men. Whatever superheroes were left were second tier at best. Wolverine Wolverine was removed from the planet Earth because his healing factor made him immortal, so the only way to basically keep him from killing off the Skrulls in their entirety was to just take him away from Earth so they don't have to worry about him here. And the result is that there's only like a handful of us left. There's almost nobody left alive. We have Hank Pym, we have Janet Van Dyne, we have a couple others here and there, Cannonball Sam Guthrie, but they're really just scavengers, survivors, the ones who have been trying to make it day by day, and we're rallying them to our cause. And this is kind of the cool thing, is because he says, Janet Van Dyne is the one that brought them all together. Janet Van Dyne was the person that said, look, we need leadership here. Now, what most likely happened, this is kind of what we're left to figure out on our own devices anyway, what most likely happened behind the scenes was that Hank Pym really probably just had like a crisis of conscience. That's not new for his character. Hank Pym has emotional breakdowns all the time. He has emotional breakdowns with regards to his personalities. He has multiple breakdowns with regards to, whether or not the Super Bowl is going the way that he wants it to. He has emotional breakdowns for everything. It's insane. And so because of this, Janet Van Dyne probably stepped up and really took the reins. And so what happens is we basically transition to a base in the Andrionics, I think is what it's called, Andriondax. And it's basically a section of the world whereby some heroes or some survivors, some humans, are trying to take refuge, but they're being tracked down systematically by the Skrulls. And so while Hank Pym, while Sam Guthrie do what they can to rescue these people, they're suddenly met by the arrival of Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. Now, what's also cool about this is that Bucky Barnes is alive. Now, this is during the time when Bucky Barnes, at least it seems as though he was underground. And so for some reason or another, obviously probably the conflict with the Incredible Hulk brought him back. But whatever the case may be here, he's also one of the military guys who's kind of running the show. And we would expect that with Bucky Barnes. If Janet Van Dyne is the one who's in charge of everything, she'd have to have generals, people who would basically go out and overwatch field missions. And because Bucky Barnes spends so much time fighting alongside Captain America, it makes perfect sense that he would be one of the people that would oversee this conflict. But when the Incredible Hulk arrives, Bucky Barnes initially finds it a little strange, because when they get back to an abandoned SHIELD bunker, most likely having belonged to Nick Fury and operating as the new base of the Avengers, when they get back there, Bucky Barnes initially says this is going to be strange. And the reason is because everybody doesn't like the Hulk. Like, a lot of people just hate him because he was the one that led to this in the first place. The Incredible Hulk's rampage on the planet Earth, the fact that he cut a swath through so many different superheroes, basically set up the stage for the Skrulls to take advantage of a fractured Earth, and in doing so, conquer it. And so what happens is the Incredible Hulk actually turncoats and says, hey, look guys, I'm here to try to save things. I'm here to fix things, because of all the destruction that I've wrought, because of all the conflict that I've created. I'm here to try to atone for that and make up for my past mistakes. And so alongside, Dagger, alongside, Bucky Barnes, a whole horde of superheroes, they literally just start tearing through the Skrulls everywhere. I mean, they just start conquering cities, they start conquering outposts, they start freeing all these different people. And so when it gets to the point whereby the Skrulls are starting to realize that the Incredible Hulk is working against them, and that with his unbridled strength, there's really nothing they can do to stop him, the Skrull Bishop says, it's time to enact our spy. He says, we have a spy among the ranks of these superheroes, and it's time to bring them out. Now, one of his generals says, well, why did you wait this long? Why did you wait so long? Like, we've lost hundreds of people. Why did you wait until just now to enact this spy and to bring them down? And this is actually really, really smart. The Bishop says, because I wanted all the heroes in one spot. Now, that's a smart thing, because, the heroes were either in camps or they were hiding. Whatever the case may have been, not all of them were gathered together as part of the new Avengers. And so the Bishop said, look, the Incredible Hulk is a force of nature. If he allies himself with the Avengers, his strength will give other people strength. And as a result, they'll come out of hiding, they'll rally under the umbrella of his capabilities, and they'll literally, create their own team, and they'll launch a war against us. And so he says, when they do that, then that will be when all the heroes come out, and that's when we strike. And so what we learn is that the Skrull replicant that's been a part of the Avengers this entire time was Janet Van Dyne. And Janet Van Dyne had been put there as that Skrull replacement since the beginning of the conflict, since, almost immediately after, the Incredible Hulk, or I guess immediately after the destruction of Tony Stark when it came to New York City. And so as a result, she says the Skrulls had basically analyzed the genome of Hank Pym, and they found that he was effectively unstable in terms of his molecular structure because of the Pym particles. And so she said what they could do is they could basically turn him into a genetic bomb. They could effectively detonate him on the molecular level, and they could let off a massive wave of destruction. And that's exactly what happens. With all the heroes being there in one place, they quite literally just detonate Hank Pym. And in doing so, it's this massive, I guess what would amount to a nuclear explosion, and it annihilates every single hero who's there. And so in effect, the Incredible Hulk is the last man on Earth right now. I mean, all the humans who were rallied in the bunker of the new Avengers Avengers are dead. You know, all those existing humans are gone. All the superheroes that remained on Earth that were in this bunker are gone. And so because of this, the Incredible Hulk just wants to see the Earth destroyed. And so what happens is the Incredible Hulk recalls an instance whereby when he was on the Defenders alongside Silver Surfer and Doctor Strange, he recalls that they were informed by Reed Richards that there is a homing device, a beacon in a pocket of the negative zone, some little small aspect of the negative zone. It can be accessed using, you know, whatever portals it was that existed in what was left of the Baxter building, and the Incredible Hulk could access this beacon and use it to call the Silver Surfer. And so Silver Surfer arrives here, and when he does, the Incredible Hulk says, wipe out the Earth, call Galactus and have him consume the Earth. Now this is crazy because we've never really seen an instance where a superhero says, we want Galactus to wipe out the Earth. Of course, and again, a lot of that's because the superheroes don't want their Earth destroyed. But even in a lot of like the post-apocalyptic what-if scenarios, for example, the Incredible Hulk being the last man on Earth, when all the population of heroes and humans are wiped out in a global nuclear war, you know, surely this was a scenario he could have called, and he could have just had you know, Galactus consume the Earth and destroy him. But of course, that story needed to take a different tone, and it was written at a different point in time too. So it may just be that, you know, for whatever reason, Reed Richards never told them about this homing beacon that would bring Galactus in. But the only time we've ever really seen an instance where something like this has happened was during Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, when, you know, Reed Richards realized that there was going to be a massive conflict of the planet Earth and summoned Galactus to fight on his behalf against the Mad Celestials. That was really the only time we've ever really seen that happen. And so the Incredible Hulk here is just unbridled rage. And so Silver Surfer says, okay, fine, because right now the Incredible Hulk will kill him. If the Silver Surfer doesn't do it, the Incredible Hulk will kill him, and that's entirely possible. The Hulk's durability, his strength, makes him, you know, well beyond the Silver Surfer when it comes to just sheer force. Now, the Silver Surfer can do all kinds of crazy things too. He could probably break down the Hulk on a molecular level. You know, he could wipe him out of existence. He could do a lot of different things. But when it comes to this moment right now with the Incredible Hulk's hands around the Silver Surfer's neck, he would kill him. He would literally just kill him on the spot. And so the Silver Surfer says, okay, fine. If you want your Earth destroyed, I'll destroy it. And I'll have Galactus destroy it. You're the last human here, so you're really the only one that's in a fit place to judge what happens. And so the Silver Surfer says, not only will I bring Galactus here and have him consume the Earth, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be a herald of Galactus. This is the last straw. And so the Silver Surfer basically takes off. Now, of course, we follow up with this with Galactus arriving on Earth with his machine and basically destroying the Earth, which is kind of ironic because Galactus destroying the Skrull homeworld is the reason why the Skrulls showed up on Earth in the first place. And so it's really just history repeating itself. But following the destruction of this Earth, the destruction of the superheroes, all of which was led to by the actions of the Incredible Hulk, we end up having him met with Galactus, and Galactus says, look, my herald is gone. I have no one here to fight on my behalf. I have no one here to find these, you know, find planets for me to consume. I am going to make you my new herald. I'm going to make you the guy who's going to be the one that goes out and finds these planets for me. Now, the problem with the Incredible Hulk is that for him, he wanted to die. He didn't want to, you know, he wanted the Earth destroyed because he wanted to be destroyed with it. For him, his actions, his violence, his conflict, his destruction had led to the deaths of all the superheroes that he had ever known. It led to the death of all of humanity. And so for him, he wanted an end to the whole damn thing. He wanted the Skrulls destroyed because they killed superheroes and they took over the Earth. And then he wanted to die because he was the source of all the suffering that he had ever experienced in his life. But Galactus says, no. Not only that, I'm not going to make you live a new life remembering everything that had happened. I'm going to make you forget. I'm going to wipe your memory of everything that had ever happened. This is going to be a clean slate, and you are going to go forward as my herald in the universe with no realization of who you were before this moment. And that's exactly what happens. The Incredible Hulk becomes the herald of Galactus, and presumably goes about the world, you know, doing whatever it is that or going about the universe doing whatever it is that he does. As far as I know, there's no follow-up series to this. This is it. Which, if there was a follow-up series, and if there is, somebody post a comment and let me know, because I want to make videos on that. I want to make videos on the Incredible Hulk as a herald of Galactus. That would be so beast. Like, post a comment. Like, if you guys would want to see something like that, post a comment. If it exists, I'll make a video on, you know, the first story arc or something like that. But yeah, so anyway, that's the story. The Incredible Hulk becoming a herald of Galactus. He, like, his entire life led to the destruction of all the superheroes, not to mention his violence and rage. And with everything dead, with all humans and all superheroes dead, Galactus just makes him his herald. So if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you all later. Peace.